Once again, we get to Sunday night and I need a shower.
I do too. I am definitely. I've gotten a lot of sun this weekend.
Yeah, you've been outside for
First,
like 2 days straight.
yeah, 2 days straight. Yeah, and then I played a small show this afternoon, but 2 to 4 in the afternoon, and they did have a tent, but where I was sitting in the angle of the sun, not sitting, standing, where I was completely in the sun the whole time. So yeah, I'm sweaty and dirty and
You're not too red though. You're not red at
yeah,
all,
I
actually.
successfully kept myself from. I feel it a little bit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't get burned. I'm certainly tired though. Long weekend.
Yes, it was a long weekend. It was so full. It felt like one of those experience weekends. Like,
But
this
an
is life.
amazing, yeah. We got so lucky to do all the things we did. So yeah, to jump into just the weekend. Uh, Petty Nicks was in Rifle, Colorado, Friday night.
Which is about 3 hours west of Denver on I-70.
Little past Glenwood Springs. It is a lot less Lauren Boebert signs than last time
I
we
did
were
not
there.
see any Lauren Boebert
I
signs this
didn't,
time.
and last time we were there 2 years ago,
They were
they were
everywhere.
in every window. Yeah. So
That is the town where she has that or had that restaurant, right?
that's right.
Her restaurant,
Yeah. So anyway, we had that show at the really gorgeous Ute Theater. It's such a cool theater. It's a like 1950s movie theater. Like one of those single screen, kind of big. Capacity on the room's like 250 now.
Yeah, I think 250 seated.
Yeah. But it has the cool kind of Art Deco-ish. It's
Yeah,
not really, whatever.
It's been all renovated and redesigned. There's,
Yeah.
these cool paintings on the walls of like, they're not fleur-de-lis, but they're like these swirly, curvy,
Right.
beautiful things.
Yeah. And they have the old school sign out front.
Yeah.
Stick up.
Yeah, there's the
know.
marquee and then there's like the sign that sticks up, kind of like the Oriental
Yeah,
Theater
yeah,
does,
yeah,
Yeah.
And we haven't been there in a couple of years, but we really enjoy the place, and the staff there is just
So
amazing,
great to work with.
professional, really take care of us. And the hospitality's great.
We were joking, or they were joking about how people don't know how to say the name of the theater, the Ute Theater. It's Ute,
Oh yeah,
UTE, Ute, like the Indian tribe, the Utes.
yeah,
And people were like, some people say it's Ute
yeah.
or Ute, and we were like, Ute, Ute,
Yeah.
Ute. I mean,
We had a lot of fun.
how can you not know? Anyway.
I mean, how can you not know Ute? I mean, that's a pretty common,
the Ute.
and those were the main Indians that lived in the western part of the state, or at least used. Interestingly enough, I don't know that many Indians lived in most of Colorado. They would migrate, transition through the season, spending some time here, but. Yeah, but those would have been the Utes, and that was the theater, and I thought the audience was great.
They were great. They were definitely drinking.
They were drinking.
There's some chitter chatter going on, even during the quiet parts.
There was a lot of chitter chatter, but some of those small town audiences in Rifles, pretty small town. Some of the small town audiences can be rough to play for. Like they can be a little, what's the word? Kind of, I almost want to say insulated, but they can be a little hard to reach. Like they're just kind of there for fun, and you're just the thing that happens to be going on.
Yeah, what you were describing it as like this is the thing to do tonight in Rifle.
Right.
And everyone's just like everyone knows each other and they're catching up and they're talking and
Right.
it's like it's the thing the community is doing. So it's more of a social connection
Right.
thing.
So kind of sometimes with those kinds of audiences, it can just be a little hard to, break through and actually you know, I mean, you put on your show either way, but to get the full attention. And
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
there was a lot of talking, but I felt like they were also happy to see us because we hadn't been
Yeah.
back. And then the responses were great. And I feel like we were really, you know, nailing a few things. We did some new arrangements
Right.
that we ran at Soundcheck.
Yeah, yeah.
And those went off
Those
without
were
a
great.
hitch.
And we moved Edge of 17 to the beginning of the second set, which we've never done before.
Never done before, and that's a big, big song. That's a big swing to start off a set with, because
Yeah.
then where do you go?
Yeah, that's like starting at the top of the mountain, and then where are you?
Yeah.
Where can you possibly end up?
But I
So-
think we made it work.
Yeah, yeah. It made for like a U-shaped set,
Right.
basically. But you know what you were realizing on the way home was the second set is not a complete reset from the first set. There's still energy in the room. Yeah, they're mid journey.
I have a tendency to think of it as a full reset, and kind of my thinking about that second set, you know, so we do 75 or 70 or whatever we do, and then we take a break for intermission, and then we go back and we do another 70 or 65 or whatever it is. And which, you know, we were talking about, I think shorter is a little better. But anyway, I always thought, you know, that second set we would be just starting from scratch with the audience. And I think we're not really starting from scratch.
No, we've created a lot of goodwill, and there's energy in the room, and
Yeah.
some people have been dancing and cheering, and we've made a connection. You know, I've done my "Who are you?" thing, that whatever it is I do. You know, where did you come from? Who's seen us before? That kind of thing.
Another time that worked great as crowd banter.
Yeah.
And I think it is really great. You've been doing it early on, which I think is really good. I think it takes the temperature of the room a little, but then it also is like, hey, we see you and we care who you are.
Yeah.
It's not just, again, it's not just the thing we talk about all the time. It's not just the energy going one way. We want to know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna keep doing it because I think it's a great way for me to say hello. Julian's already said at that point. Julian's already said the hello. Here's what we are.
Right.
Introducing, you know, turn it
He's
over to
introduced
Stevie.
the band, yeah.
And then the next talking break can be me saying, "That's who we are now. Who are you?
Yeah.
We want to hear. You know, have you seen us before? Are you back for your 10th time? I mean,
Yeah, and I think that just like it really felt like it sort of you know, drew the room in a little bit.
yeah,
to,
it
you
really
know,
did. There was
kinda
some enthusiastic responses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we did the encore, which oddly enough, we've been doing Sisters of the Moon, which doesn't matter if you know the song. It's a lesser known Fleetwood song, and it's kind of long, and we do a jammed out version that was from Fleetwood Mac's like maybe 78 tour or something. We do the way they had kind of stretched it out because it is a tribute band. And, you know, honestly, we usually do it because it doesn't always go over that great because just, you know, it's not as popular of a song and it's kind of long and stretched out. And then, but there were people yelling for it.
Yeah.
So we went ahead and did it. And I thought it went great.
Yeah.
I feel so lucky to play with that band because the fact that we can kind of go, you know, we sort of really stretched out one of the songs and added all these hits and this sort of jam out part and kind of a lot, like not just a like, hey, let's jam the end of this and then throw a signal to end it. It had some.
Yeah. Well, it had a bar of 3 in it.
It had a bar of 3 in it where, you know, the hits were, you know, the hits, and then it had a bar of 3 getting back into the thing. And we just sort of talked it through and then ran it a couple of times in sound check. And then the band at this point has, you know, was 100% fine to, you know, we did it at the show and it went great.
Yeah.
I think there's a weird thing with, it's not just is everybody in the band good, but once you've been a band for a while, and Joaquin, the drummer, is newer, but I think, I hate to say culture because that's maybe not what it is, but there's a like, if a band is just used to being able to do that kind of thing, it sort of makes everybody in the band better at doing that kind of thing. You just have a little more confidence that like, yeah, we can do, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I feel it too. You know, it's not just I think because we've been a band for long enough, at least most of us, again, Joaquin is new, but you know, a lot of us have been playing together for quite a while, and then we're just used to, hey, we'll run it at soundcheck and then we'll do it at the show.
Yeah.
You just kind of can coast. So I'm sure that was
fascinating.
super interesting to everyone there. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, so the Ute theater Friday, and then we got some time. It's kind of a tradition when we're out of time to
Out of town?
out of town. Yeah, out of time. Sorry, I am really tired. I was in the sun all day. We usually hang out in the hotel lobby, chit chat, hang out. The band doesn't always get to hang out that much because we're all busy and we don't rehearse, so we just see each other's shows and then we go home from the show. But when we are out of town and we're staying in a hotel, we usually hang out, and we got to have a lot of fun hanging with the guys, and that was great. And then Saturday, so the very next day, we got up. We didn't get up that early. I mean, you got up earlier than me, but
I didn't get that early.
Yeah.
Like 8:30, 8:45. And
we
had breakfast together with everybody, and then
Yeah.
then we went to Rifle Falls State Park, which was like 10 minutes away, and a gorgeous oasis of this multi-waterfall. It was like a creek or a river, a small river, big creek, that splits into 4 waterfalls
yeah,
and cascades down 60, 80 feet.
right.
And then there's moss and all this greenery right there, and a bunch of caves, a bunch of limestone caves.
A bunch of limestone caves that you could go pretty far back into. I mean, that's, you know, and then of course we were in this, you know, huge valley, as there's so many of them in Colorado, and they did such a good job of putting in all these places so you can walk up to the front of the waterfall and of course see, you know, all the different, you know, the several waterfalls that are coming down, and then there was a place where you could get behind the waterfall, and you're kind of like up a little, so you're almost like looking down and seeing, you know, but you're behind the waterfall, which was so cool. And then you could climb up to the top of the waterfall. Not even climb, it's like a nice path.
Yeah.
And then they had several places that you could look at the waterfall from, you know, where it was falling. Shocking to me that you never hear anybody talk about it. It's sort of one of those things we were talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's such an embarrassment of riches in Colorado that something that amazing is not something that even gets talked about. I've never heard of it. Yeah. Yeah, we like Googled when we were like, hey, let's go hike somewhere since we happen to be out.
And you said, I heard there might be some waterfalls nearby. So I like searched for waterfalls on Google Maps.
It is just one of those things where there's just so much stuff that, you know, it would seem like if you mentioned you were, or the hotel people would be like, hey, make sure you go see this. Right. And then, like, no one says anything about it. Beautiful, beautiful park. Right, you know, the drive out there was gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, just, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we did that, hiked around, looked at the beautiful waterfall. I may put a picture or video up, or I might have already done so. So we'll see how much I want to get into the editing. We hiked around, had a really great time there.
And then we drove a little toward home and stopped at Newcastle, which is only 20, 30 minutes east of Rifle. And because I knew that there were a couple of hikes around there, and I picked one that was right by the highway, but it was this ridge of a hill.
Yeah.
That was north of I-70 and south of like a neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so we hiked that, and it was just 360-degree views. Spectacular.
Was it called Medeiros or something? Yeah. Again, on no one's radar. No one thinks to like...
Oh, it's just a little 2-mile hike. Like
just a little...
500, not even 350 feet elevation gain.
Right.
But you get up there, and you can see where I-70 is heading east into the canyon.
Yeah.
And you can look where I-70 heads west out into the valley that it opens.
Yeah. And it's just this huge valley. And it was like a razorback ridge. So once you hiked up there, the top of it was kind of crazy narrow. I mean, it wasn't like scary narrow, but it was maybe only like 10 or 20 feet at points wide. And you hiked along the top, but you just really could see just 360.
Yeah.
You know. But gosh, we were talking about it in the podcast last week, I at least am not used to the heat. Like I am still in winter mode, and it was probably only 75 or 80.
It was. We looked in the car. Remember, it was I think 72,
Yeah,
and you were dying.
I was dying in the heat. Like it felt so hot. Granted, the sun out here because we're at elevation.
Yeah.
And that where we were on that hike was not any higher than Denver, I don't think. But still, just the intensity of the sun. And because we were up on a ridge and stuff, there was no
And because
shade.
you were wearing a black T-shirt and jeans.
Yes.
Not exactly the best hiking outfit.
No, I haven't completely figured Colorado out, but it was a Black Flag T-shirt, so that's at least something.
At least cool.
Yeah, at least cool.
Okay.
So, but then we got to go to. We shouldn't forget to mention Ein Prosit,
Yes.
which we must have talked about before, but it is a German not themed. I mean, it's a German restaurant.
Yep. Sausages, brats, and beer.
Brats and beer.
Beer and brats.
And one of our favorite places. It's in Frisco, and
Yep. And I had a rabbit and jalapeno sausage. Really good.
and I just had like a normal German brat, and then we had a couple of German beers, and one each, but
I was driving.
Yeah. And we just hung out. The traffic would have been terrible, but because we sort of like kicked around and hung out and went to Ein Prosit, which we have driven an hour out of our way to go to before.
An hour out of our way? Have we?
Almost. I forget what trip we were on, but we were like, well, if we just go this direction, it's longer, but we get to go through there. They have their house mustard is the thing that is like, the food is great. As great as it is, I find it to be just a mustard delivery system. That's really what you want. They have this it must be horseradish. I don't know what it is, but it's spicy. Mm-hmm. We love that place. And Frisco's a very cool little mountain town, so it's nice to be there. Yeah. And oh my gosh, that shop in Rifle.
Oh, yeah.
So after we went to the falls, we're going back in time here, but we went just to the town of Rifle, and their business district, it's a cute little town, and it's maybe
3 blocks long, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But they had a local collective. I wish I remember the name of the place. You're not gonna miss it though.
It was like Midland or something. Midland Art something.
Yeah. No, if you go to Rifle, you can't miss it.
It's the art place on the corner.
It's the art place on the corner. That's all the directions you need. It's a small town. But it was a local collective, so it was all local artists, and who knows how many different artists, but it was just all kinds of things. There were clothes, paintings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, jewelry,
greeting
cards and stuff, and handmade stuff. And the reason we're bringing it up is because a lot of times those kinds of artist collectives have kind of the same kind of stuff everywhere.
Right.
And often the art is not that great.
Yeah. Or those signs.
Better than I could do. I mean, I hate to be critical.
Yeah, you don't want to be critical. Yeah.
As art goes, those kinds of stores are not fine arts galleries, and that's fine. Not like I even have the eye for it. But there was some really cool stuff in this store, really original and great art, and really affordable.
The quality blew me away. I mean, for the quality for the money was just incredible.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in there that was like, that's not, it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like you go touristy places and they have those pieces of wood and like someone's just painted "Mama needs her wine."
It's somewhere.
Yeah, like those dumb sayings. And you're like, this is just full of like, I mean, we could be literally anywhere in the country in some places selling, rustic painted, and this store was not that, man. It was really cool. Mm-hmm. So
I bought a whole bunch of greeting cards, like painted. They weren't. I mean, they were reprints. They weren't originally handmade, but they were so good
and so gorgeous.
So gorgeous.
And they had a whole stack of them that were like $2.
I know. I pretty much bought like half the ones in the sale box.
Yeah. I mean, it was just.
I'm set for greeting cards.
I got to tell you. Well, you were there, so you remember me saying that Saturday was just an incredible day.
Yeah. The gorgeous drive.
The gorgeous
the
drive.
gorgeous hike. The amazing beer and brats. The art that we found
Yeah.
by surprise in this little place. The 4-part waterfall with the caves. I mean, the number of experiences we got to have by staying a little longer.
That is the way to do it when we have out of town shows. We should just take advantage of being there. If we don't have to rush back, which sometimes we do, you know, it's such a great chance to just explore some area. And I kept just saying out loud, I kept saying, I'm in such a great, I was having such a good time.
And it was weird. It's like, you're not normally in this good of a mood.
I was downright chipper. I just really was, man. It was a great day. And then we got back and we were tired and we watched The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which is a cool Ben Stiller movie.
What a great way to end that whole day.
I know. We just had a heck of a day.
That was an adventure of its own.
It really was.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
It's so weird that we did all that in one day. I mean...
It felt like a week or two of life experience.
It felt like a vacation.
Yeah.
You know, like it felt like we got a real vacation in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, we should brag about opening for
that's
an 80s
right.
band. Not that 80s band, but an 80s band. Or 70s?
I think both. I
Okay.
think they were around for 70s and 80s. The band is called Ambrosia.
Which I didn't recognize by name, but
No.
we can play a few seconds of songs and YouTube is still okay with it. So for example... That's how much I feel for you, baby. Or this one. So, you might recognize those songs. I certainly do.
How long has this been going on? How long has this been going on?
Yeah. Where are we opening for them? Do you know?
It's apparently out by the airport, and they do
that gig.
outdoor
Yeah.
shows because there's a very large hotel and convention center, and they have apparently a outdoor gathering area.
Yeah. We see it. It's right by the escalators.
Oh, right. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently they do shows there, and these guys are touring, and Petty Nicks is going to open.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. I mean, those guys had... Man, I mean, when we listened, they have, like, more than 5, like, big hits where you're just like, oh, I remember that song, of course. So that'll be really fun. And credit goes to Vic pulling that together.
Yeah.
So...
That I think will probably... Well, besides Blue Oyster Cult, that'll be one of the biggest bands I've ever opened for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. I always forget about that.
Yeah.
Opening for Blue Oyster Cult. That was not on my bingo card. Didn't think that was going to happen. And then just in the normal course of work, I really kind of fast because I'm head down in Eric Golden's record. A new single came out Tuesday.
Oh, exciting.
So, Heartache in My Chest, Eric Golden,
Yeah.
that was released all over the internet. If you guys have internet. Yeah, so that's out there if you want to check that out. And then I jumped over and just put in a couple of very long days and mixed 8 more songs for Sherry Nunn's record, which you helped with, and I think we've talked about on the podcast. But it needed that final mix, and so I just jumped over and we were really running late on that. It was a bunch of stuff. I did 3 songs for her in my studio, and then she did 8 more at another studio, and so I came in at the end and just mixed everything, and with the transferring between studios and stuff, it was kind of it was a little bit of a fire to get that one done. And so that's going off to Anna in Fort Collins. Yeah, so that was really fun. It was a learning experience in that I've talked about on the podcast, only reason I'm bringing it up, I've talked about trying to sometimes like make templates and be able to go song to song and get all the work that I did on one song to sort of transfer over to another song. and that has not worked on Eric's record at all. Like the material, the source material is just too different. So I haven't been able to do that. But on Sherry's record, she had a couple songs that were, I think 3 songs that were just jazz combo, kind of like jazz drums, piano, upright bass, and maybe a lead instrument, and then vocal, of course. And for the first time the template thing worked. I mixed one and got it pretty good, and then I was able to move all of those settings over to another song, and it made it possible for me to finish a song in... The mixing part of it took maybe 30 to 45 minutes, which is fast. For me, that's lightning fast. I had to spend a couple of extra hours, cleaning stuff up and doing editing and stuff. But, without the editing step, that would have been like lightning fast. Yeah. Only bringing it up, first time it's worked for me. And I think I've learned some things that I'm going to, it's a new, I've mixed for years, and but I've never tried using that template system of being like, oh, this is the same band that played stuff, so I'm just going to take all my settings for the drums and copy them over, and all my settings for the this and that. And it was to do all the work and then hit play and be like, whoa, that is like 90% there, was like, you got to go in and write automation differently, and then different songs need different amounts of reverb and echo and stuff. But, I feel like I am being fascinating tonight. People must be so interested right now.
Well, let me talk then.
Okay.
And it's actually about time to wrap, but,
yeah.
I had a couple meetings this week with the Colorado Music Industry Alliance.
I'm so excited about that.
It's a new organization.
Yeah.
Being pulled together by Kelsey Larches Miguel, who is a Berkeley grad in music business, and she's an artist development coach that you guys have met, you might work together, and kind of like...
Yeah, we had a meeting
share
a month ago or something,
she's a go-getter, and she's pulling together some heavy hitters in the scene. The first meeting, I just met her and one other potential board member, and then the second meeting there were 12 people there. Is
that where you're coming in? Are you potentially going to be on the board? Is that the...
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think I have been invited to be on the board, and I said yes. But in the meeting on Friday, or with the meeting with 12 people, I felt like everyone else had it covered. Like,
yeah.
I mean, my perspective on this is from the educational side mostly.
Right.
I'm not doing the original music thing seriously. I'm not doing the business side of the Petty Nicks experience. So I'm on the educational side. And that's a small piece of what they're trying to do. It's not. Let me rephrase that. Education is huge in what CMIA wants to do.
Right.
But the problems they're trying to solve are not primarily problems that I have the ability or perspective to solve.
Right. So they're not necessarily just doing education on how to play your instrument or how to sing. They're interested in doing education on the business side of things.
Yeah.
And the...
Yeah. As far as not even for artists, not just for artists, but education for venues.
Right.
Like they want to raise the level of professionalism in Denver overall, and connect all of the different silos of music industry that exist in Colorado.
Right, because stuff is very, I mean, I guess stratified goes this way, but the stuff is very siloed. Yeah. There's scenes and they don't overlap a lot. And
Yeah. And one thing that a lot of the people, I guess board members, brought up is that there are a lot of resources already out there. There are a lot of organizations trying
yes, of course.
to do what we're doing or trying to educate artists, but a lot of people don't know anything about anything outside their silo.
Right.
And so the first project of the CMIA is going to be a directory project. So defining what that directory is and who gets to be in it, and the terms under which you are in it, but everything from artists to venues to service providers.
And what were you telling me? Did they have a stated goal? Like, I feel like we were talking about the overall goal.
Yeah, it's in a slide deck. There's more than one the overall goal is to bring the Colorado music industry together in a more cohesive fashion.
Right.
And elevate what everyone is doing.
Right.
That's the biggest mission, and not said with the particular mission statement words that they have, but
Right.
it's all on the website. There's some specific goals about getting funding for making this happen, becoming a not a charity, a 501c3.
Yeah.
And I hope to contribute, but there are a lot of people who know a lot more than me who are in the board. So if I can be of service, I am thrilled to be of service. And if not, I am also completely fine watching them do it and supporting in any small way that I can. So just no ego involved. Like if I can be of help, I'm happy to be of help. And if not, I don't need to be in the way.
Right.
So we'll see how it plays out. I mean, there was Bruce Trujillo from 102.3. There was a guy.
Yeah, Bruce. Right. Yeah. Sure.
There was a rep from Colorblind Media, which has artist development and creative coaching services in 5 cities around the country.
Right.
They're really big on diversity, so there weren't many old white dudes involved.
Yeah.
Which
is that why I wasn't there? Joking. I do not have time for anything like that right now. It's a total joke.
Anyway, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see how Performance High can play a part. How Performance High can connect with more potential clients that we can serve through this way. How we can better design what we are doing to meet the actual needs rather than my perceived needs of what's out there, because of course everyone has their own perception about how the world works and what's out there and what's not out there, and I have my small perspective that's based largely on the resources that I was able to find for myself 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
Which is a pretty outdated perspective.
Sure. I mean, we to a degree are in our own silo. I mean, we've got our own world that sort of, we're in.
Yeah. So anyway, things are going to be moving forward fairly aggressively on that project, I think. Kelsey's a good leader as far as I can see so far.
She is a go-getter.
Yeah.
Yeah, very impressive person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
when I say leader, I mean listener and guider.
I am not surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
That's the impression I got.
Yeah.
Definitely.
She's my style of leader. Let's bring together smart people, define the problem, and see what everyone has to say about it.
Yeah, and then one of the rare times I'm going to say, how could that go wrong without sarcasm? Yeah, if you just bring great people together, it just, sometimes that's just like, let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's close this one down.
Yeah.
I would love to not be sweaty. So I'm going to take care of that. And lots of fun stuff coming up. Thank you guys so much, as always, for listening. This week we are sponsored by the Youth Theater in Rifle, Colorado, and as promised, Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
I
got it right.
I did the thing again. Okay, guys.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
See ya.